Welcome to Solopreneur Success Strategies, where we talk about the entrepreneurial mindset and how to get your message out to your customers, how to know what your customer wants, and how to make them your raving fans, as well as the knowledge and skills you need as an entrepreneur to save you time, money, and be more productive in your business. So welcome! Welcome to Solopreneur Success Strategies. And today is World Domination Wednesday. And I'm Jane Gardner of jane-gardner.com. /SSS is where you can find Solopreneur Success Strategies, the TV version and the podcast version. So welcome. Hi, we're back again on Jill or Jack of All Trades, or Jack or Jill of All Trades Thursday. And today we're talking about business numbers. Last week we had a look at some of the statements that you have to understand when you're doing a business. And this week we're going to talk about some of the concepts, just briefly. And maybe next week we'll actually do some math. Anyway, today I'm Jane Gardner, and I work with my husband in our engineering firm for 20 years in home-based. That's me in the office, and that's us traveling. And we have dogs and cats, and we live in Western Canada. And I have a few websites there, and you can check me out at jane-gardner.com. So welcome. I think I'm showing you another side of me. So I called this Jill or Jack or of all trades, or Jack or Jill of all trades, because when you're an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur, you need to know a little bit about a lot of things. You need to know about your website, your computer stuff, your HTML, how to control your website with it. That's what we did in the previous 4 weeks. How to use WordPress. What's a cash flow? What's a revenue? And you talking about email. Why do I need email? I don't even have a website. But on Jack or Jill of All Trades Thursday, we like to look at some of the concepts and learn a few things about a lot of things and be a Jill or Jack of all trades. So here we go. We have some information coming up while we're talking about cash flow today. We'll be talking about sales and selling. We'll be talking about our website, our email and subscribers list, and we'll be looking at our computer again. Oh no. But yes, you need to know a little bit about a lot of things, and it'll be your Jill or Jack of all trades. So last week we talked about some of the concepts behind the statements when you're having your financial flow, your business numbers. And today we're going to look at knowing your numbers and understanding the concepts. So let's have a look at knowing your numbers. Well, of course, all businesses have numbers. Hopefully you have numbers in your business and you're selling. Even if you're not selling, you still have to know your numbers. So by looking at key figures, you can immediately increase your daily profits by knowing what you can do. So let's have a look at some of the concepts. Sorry. Revenue. I'm sure you've heard of the word revenue. Well, it's the basic picture of how your business is performing. It's the money coming in, but it's calculated by multiplying the price of what the goods or services are sold by the number or amount sold. So the revenue for a $10 product, and you sell 1,000 of them, then that would equal $10,000 in revenue. For revenue, the concept is it's the money coming in, and you don't take your expenses off of it. That's another thing that you use for figuring that out. Your profit, that's it. Your gross profit is the amount of revenue minus the cost of the goods sold. So, for example, if you had $10,000 sold of your product and your cost of the goods to create the goods was $3,000, then you would have $7,000 gross profit. However, Net profit is the revenue minus the cost of the goods and then also all the other expenses. So, for example, the expenses of your computer, your office, your insurance, and taxes. Well, the taxes come off at a separate time, but it's all the other expenses that are included in your business minus the cost of goods sold from the revenue. So, for example, $10,000 sold in revenue, then you'd subtract $3,000 of the cost of the goods, subtract $1,000 for the office expenses, and that will give you $6,000 net profit. So really, the net profit is the one you really, really like. That's the one that's the most important, obviously. According to Josh Joman, author of the Personal MBA, there are just 4 methods you can use to increase your revenue. These are: increase the number of customers, increase the average transaction size, increase the frequency of transactions per customer, or raise your prices. We'll be coming back to this concept at another day in terms of looking at your price point, etc. But those are 4 things that you should think about when you're thinking about your revenue and your cost of goods and what you want for your net profit. The only way you can increase your revenue are increase the number of customers, increase the average transaction size, increase the frequency of transactions per customer, or raise your prices. Another concept is cash flow. Cash flow examines the amount of money available to your business that you actually use at any given time. Cash flow it can be a challenge, especially in a business where you have a lot of accounts receivable, and we'll look at that at another day, those concepts that are put on to your income and your balance statement, etc. But basically, the accounts receivable are monies after you did business that are owed to you and you are expecting, but you haven't received yet from clients. So cash flow examines how much money you have at any given point. So your cash flow may be low, but you may be expecting quite a bit of money through your accounts receivable. So really, your business is healthy, but at this critical moment in time, you don't have the cash flow, so you have to consider how to even out your cash flow, you might say, and other ways that you can keep cash in your business at all times to pay. One of the ways, of course, is to have a line of credit through your bank so that you can, when you receive the monies owed you, you can put that against your line of credit in order to even out your cash flow. But that's for another day. But that's what the concept of cash flow is. It's really nothing to do with your monies and such, in that it's not revenue or income. It's just the way that the money flows in and out of your business. And you've got to make sure it's always flowing in and out of your business or you get into trouble. So to work out your cash flow, you can figure out, there's an equation you can figure out that the total amount of any financial assets plus the marketable securities, that's anything that you can sell, plus the accounts receivable, we mentioned that before, divided by the amount of current liabilities. Liabilities are the expenses owed at that time. So this is a useful way to quickly see how much money you have available and to avoid a crisis in cash flow before it occurs. Although I wouldn't recommend selling anything, marketable securities, at any time. That would be silly. But anyway, I guess that's a way for you to calculate it. And certainly on your balance statement, you have your assets there so that it is considered when you're doing your balance statement. Another concept that is important is price point. Knowing how best to price your product is absolutely crucial if you want to maximize your profits in business. Effective pricing is all about knowing just how much value you have to offer. And if the price is too high, no one will buy it from you because they're spending more than they feel like they're getting back. And if the price is too low, though, you won't be maximizing your profit. So this is actually quite a critical concept to work with and figure out how to price your product, and it's for another show. But a starting point for price is the 1 in 5 rule. You simply take the amount it costs you to manufacture the item, that's the cost per unit, and then you multiply that by 5 to get the overall recommended retail price that you will eventually charge your customer. Now, of course, that is an interesting concept and probably works well for most things, but it's always good to be wary of just using a rule. But if you take the cost of it to manufacture and multiply by 5, is what it said, that would give you an idea on the retail price that you could charge your customer. Of course, you have to be able to tweak your pricing. Testing different prices can be an effective way of learning what the market will accept. Expenses. Expenses are critical, and you need to know what your expenses are. Your expenses are your cost of goods sold, as well as your running costs to run your office and your business, if you have any staff salaries, and money that you're putting back into the business. Knowing your expenses and overhead is crucial because it allows you to work out your profits and pricing. There are quite a few expenses to running a home office. You are required to have, besides obviously having your computer service and your internet service and your pencils and pens and paper and printers, etc., you are expected to have third-person liability for when you have a home office, certainly where I live, so that if comprehensive, third-person liability, where if someone comes to your house and they trip over your paving stone, you could be sued, sort of thing, because they've come to your place of business. You're expected to have office insurance for that kind of thing as well. You might also have to have insurance for when you're working outside of the home. It's required in our province, in Canada, to have what they call Workmen's Compensation Board. So we pay an annual fee towards funding the association who makes sure that the workers are safe, and when they get injured, they pay out money to them, for example. So these are some of the insurance and fees that you're expected to pay that are considered running the office expenses that you can't really get out of. You are required to pay. And of course, there's always taxes. You always have to consider your taxes when you're running a business and looking at your price for point. So these are some of the concepts. There is basically revenue. So I'm going to give you a quiz. What's revenue? Great. Yeah, it's the overall income coming in, or revenue coming in. There's gross profit, and there's net profit. And which is most important? Net profit, of course. There's cash flow, which is a concept. Basically, cash flow for me is something I have to keep an eye on in terms of running the office and making sure we have the money to pay our bills, as well as having the money come in to pay our salaries, etc. It's basically part of running an office and going through with your business. Price point is important. Realizing what the price is for your product, deciding whether it's has a value that you want it to have, or if it's too low or too high, and expenses. We all know what expenses are, but we forget that there are a lot of them when you're running an office. There's the cost of the goods, just creating the goods, as well as the business expenses that you're required to have for governmental and insurance and for taxes and everything, all these other required expenses that you may not feel you want to pay but are required. So you have to add those up as expenses as well as just the cost of doing business. So those are some of the 4 concepts of business numbers. If you can look at a bank statement or a income statement or a balance statement and realize what is your revenue and your gross profit, your net profit, your price point, well, you don't need to know your price point on there, your expenses, and what is your net profit, then you're doing well. So I hope that you've learned a little bit today about some of the concepts behind the words that are written on your statements that you get from your bookkeeper or your accountant. Next week, we'll be looking at how to quickly determine a price point for your product or service. I don't think it'll be quick, but it will certainly be a lot of ideas you have to think about when you're determining what your price point should be for your product or service. It's always a balancing act in order to figure out what the right price is that people will buy it at, as well as what you want the value of it to be. So check out http jgtips.com jjtt for the current episode. It will be running there on the website. And you can contact me at info@jane-gardner.com if you have any questions. And I have an offer from the last time that we worked together for HTML5 code to be a website ninja. For 4 weeks, we went over some of the concepts of HTML and how you can use HTML in your WordPress website to do a lot of quick things, some of them including changing the colors, creating hyperlinks, optimizing your images, video, and audio, meta tags, ordered lists, unordered lists, how to validate the HTML, how to create a basic page, and how to use the div tag, for example. And you can go to jgtips.com/HTML5 to see the offer for when we will be doing this course in July, end of July, and hope to see you there. So thank you for listening. That was some of the other concepts about business numbers. As a business person, you need to be able to read a balance statement, an income statement from your bookkeeper. So we'll have a look at those, certainly before we finish on business numbers. And of course, pricing your product or service is always critical. So we'll be looking at that next week. And we may have a course on that, I think. We'll see how it goes when I have a look at it as an offer for you. And thank you for listening. I'll see you next week. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed and got some value out of our Solopreneur Success Strategies podcast today. And if you'd like to learn more about me, you can go over to jane-gardner.com/SSS, or please leave a review or just come and check me out. That would be great. Come and say hi at jane-gardner.com/SSS. I also have a TV show you're welcome to listen to as well over there. Thank you.